All right. So today we are interviewing Miss Bonita, Miss Beautiful. Um, and so we're going to go ahead and get started. Miss Bonita, I'm going to read a disclosure and then we will head into our interview at that time.
Great.
All right. The information provided in this video is for research and educational purposes only and is not intended to serve as personal health care from a licensed doctor. In addition, the lay viewer should be aware of misinterpreting this material, which is prepared and edited for people in which strokes have happened or affected. Does Stroke Life Perspective Bonita have your permission to use this interview on YouTube and its Facebook group page to encourage others?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, I am so excited to do your interview. I feel like you are my sister from another mother type of thing.
Yes, yes. The connection is like crazy.
It is awesome. So let's get into your story, your journey.
Okay.
Where are you from, first of all?
First of all, I'm from Buffalo, New York. Born and raised from Buffalo, New York. I'm a grandma. I say grandma. I have four beautiful granddaughters. I have three daughters and a wonderful husband. I'm an entrepreneur from heart. I'm an Amazon influencer. I'm a daycare provider. I've been a daycare provider for over 30 years, for over 30 years. I'm a certified reflexologist and an in-home coffee business. So I do a lot of stuff. I got a lot of side hustles, you
Yeah.
know. But
Okay. Well, let me ask you, let's start this. Where did your journey start? It was your husband that had the stroke, correct?
yes, Lisa. My journey started in 2015, when my husband first he had a heart attack in 2015, and then he had a stroke in 2016. And that's the beginning of my whole life change. I'll never forget it. Never forget it.
So share with us where was your husband at? Who was around? What exactly happened?
Okay, so in 2016, I never forget it. It was Halloween. It was Halloween Eve, and no, it was Halloween Day. Evening. And my husband and he would always go out to the store and get the best candy bars, the best chocolate candy bars and everything. So he had all that and was waiting for the children to come. Him and my granddaughter was downstairs and they were giving out the candies and I was upstairs doing some paperwork and everything. And I had ended up falling asleep. And I woke up maybe like 3 o'clock in the morning and I looked and I was like, my husband not in bed. But that's nothing usual because he watched so much TV that usually he'd fall asleep. So my little granddaughter, she was 3 years old at the time, and she said, Nana, I'm hungry. She sleeps in the bed with us sometimes. So she said, Nana, I'm hungry. I said, baby, go downstairs and tell granddad to fix you some oatmeal. So she goes downstairs and she said, Nana, dad is leaning over the counter. And I was like, he's leaning over the counter. And I was like, okay. So I rushed downstairs real quick and fast. And I see him leaning over the kitchen counter. And I thought that maybe he had a heart attack, another heart attack or whatever. So I said, Cottrell, I said, kid, is you okay? And he was like, the light outside the room, seeing stuff that just didn't make any sense. So I just was like, the light outside the room, I was like, oh, okay, because I didn't want him to think I thought something was wrong with him. So I said, okay, hon, let me help you pull up your clothes because his pants was halfway down. So let me help you pull up your clothes and I'll be right back. So I ran real quick and got the neighbor next door. Who's a fireman. And I said, Ronnie, something is not right. Could you come really quick and see what's going on? So he was like, it's not a heart attack. He said, but I'm asking him some questions and it just don't sound right. And his pulse, his blood pressure is a little high. So he called the ambulance and they came. And I said, okay, I'll ride in the ambulance with him. I told my other daughters, meet me up at the hospital. So when I was riding the ambulance with him, they was asking him some questions, and he just these questions like, how many kids you got? And he was like, uh, one. And I was like, what? So just things just didn't make sense. So finally, when we get to the hospital, they were asking me questions, and they said, something is not right, and his pressure was crazy. So the doctor had, said, okay, we're gonna take him to get some X-rays. So they took him to get some X-rays on his head, and they came back. They said he's stroking, and I said, he's what? And they said he's stroking out big time. And I was like, oh my God, so what does this mean? I don't know. And they said he's having a hemorrhagic brain stroke. So I was like, you got to be kidding me. I don't even know what's this about. I mean, he was just okay. So I calls my daughter and calls my neighbor next door. We live in a very close community. I called her. I said, they saying him. I said, I said, they saying he's having a stroke. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. She said, I'll be up there. So she came up there, and the doctor said, I want you to come into this room right here. And he said, your husband is having a very bad hemorrhagic brain stroke, and we have to operate really quick because it's shutting down stuff. Stuff is starting to shut down. And I was like, what? What's shutting down? And he says stuff is shutting down. The blood is getting into different capillaries of the brain that is shutting stuff down. So we got to work really hard and fast. So I was like, okay, do whatever. I had signed paperwork and sign the paperwork and everything for them to get started. I said, but first of all, I need to know who is going to operate on my husband. I need to know, do they trust God, and do they believe in God some kind of way, or something. So he said, look, we don't have that much time. We got to go with who we got to go with. So my neighbor next door, he's a pastor. He said, I'm telling you here, she's not going to go unless you figure out, well, who's going to be operating on her husband. So he said, okay, when the doctor come in, they had to call him in. He said, when the doctor come in, then we'll let you meet him. So the doctor came in, and he said, you know what, at this point, we just got to pray. And I said, okay, let's go. When he said that, I said, okay, you're the one. Let's go. And they took him in. They took him in a room, and the doctor said, you know what, we have to do a lot of praying. The other doctor came out. He said, because this is a bad stroke. And I said, but he just had a heart attack. I mean, last year. I mean, what's going on? They said it's a hemorrhagic stroke. His pressure had got so high that it had bust, and it's just, it's a bad stroke. So I never forget, we was all in the room together praying and praying and praying, and asking God for a miracle, and just praying and everything. And uh the doctors came out, and they said, everything looks pretty good, but we don't know what it affect. We don't know. Because like we said, he showed me the film where it was, I never forget, it was just like dark shadings of stuff where blood, and it was blood. And I was just like, wow. And I said, it don't make me no difference. As long as he's here, I don't give a care, as long as he's here. And and he came out and everything, and I said, can I see him? Can I please see my husband? And they said, yeah, but you can't stay in there long, because there's a lot of trauma to the brain, and it's going to be a lot of swelling, so he's going to look really swole, so don't be alarmed, he's swole, you know. So I went in there, and he was just laying there, and I said, I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. And I said, I'm not going anywhere, and I'm here. And I said, God got you. He is not through with you yet. I said, because he wants you to tell your story to somebody. Somebody got to hear this. I said, but you got to fight. You got to fight with every being in your body. You got to fight because we love you, and you got to fight. You got to fight. So after that, they took him to ICU and everything. And he didn't know us, he didn't know us at all. And each and every day we would go in there, the family, we would go in there, and I told them, I said, first of all, I want this TV off, and I want nothing but, I said, my husband liked football, so could you keep what he liked going? He liked football. And I said, I said, since it was the brain, I need for you guys to, I'm bringing a radio, and I want Bach music playing, anything to stimulate his brain. I just need anything to stimulate his brain. So they let us bring music in and everything in, and prayed every single day, every single day. He ended up getting a blood infection. Like the next week after that, he ended up getting a blood infection, and they said, that this is not good, but they said, we're gonna do what we can do. So they got him on antibiotics, and he didn't know us. He didn't know us. And he was saying stuff out of his head, and he you couldn't understand him talking. They had to put a feeding tube in him.
Bonita,
And
what did they say, how the blood infection evolved or where
they
that came from?
they did not even know. They could not even really tell me where. They said it could have come from the hospital, or could, they just didn't know where that came from. So I was like, okay, what more can we do just to get my husband where he need to be at? So they got messed his medicines up. They had him on a certain type of medicine that he wasn't supposed to be on. I forgot the name of this medicine, but I said, look in his chart. It says that he cannot be on this medicine because it have him really whoopy. This is not my husband. I said, so, you got to read this stuff. So you have to have somebody in there who is going to be your cheerleader for you, because if not, and the doctors told me, he said, you know what, we thank God for you. We thank you so much, because we don't know your husband. We don't know your husband, but you know him. And thank you for letting us know that something wasn't right. So it ended up, he was in there almost a month. Then they put him to a room. And how he got the blood infection, I'm sorry, I know now. They switched him from ICU, and they put him on a step down unit. In step down unit, they rushed it too much, because they started trying to feed him. And in this room, he started feeding himself, and they let him feed himself. And I said, no, 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 no. He just got out of ICU. He don't know how to feed himself yet. So don't no. So then they had to rush him back. And that's how the blood infection, food got somewhere where it wasn't supposed to. And it started a blood infection. So I said, you know what? This is what we're going to do. We're going to have a meeting. I want to meet with the staff. I want to meet with the doctors. I want to meet with everybody. And we have to be on the same page, because just like y'all have prized possession, this one here, that's my prized possession. So we're going to have to work together as a team. I shut down every business I own. Everything I own, I shut it down. I did not know how, after the money, because I put my husband in a private room. So after that, after that money left got, used up, I said, I don't give a care. Whatever happens, happens. I got to make sure that I'm there for my husband. And God just gave us a miracle, like the next, I say maybe like a couple of weeks right after that, they had him in a regular room, and he was still not himself, And the doctors were saying, I said, well, he was a little bit better last week. What's going on? And they said, it's the stroke. We just don't know. One day he could be, this way. One day he could be the next way. I said, so what y'all saying? I said, well, why my husband isn't talking to me? He been here almost a month, and he's not talking. So they said, well, maybe he won't talk. I don't know. Maybe this is paralysis of the stroke. Maybe he won't talk. So I never forget that night. I told my godson and my daughters, I said, you know what? We got to really be on one accord. We have to really pray, and we got to pray hard, because they saying that your dad might never talk. He might never walk. They don't know. And they trying to say that it's because of the stroke. So when the doctor told me that, I said, you know what? I just don't believe you. And he said, so you telling me you don't believe me? I said, I'm not telling you per se. I'm saying that, the person in you who's saying that my husband not going to eat, walk, talk, because I trust God. And he said, you know what? I'm a doctor. And he said, I have to tell my clients, this is my patients. I have to tell them straight out. And I said, I have a father of all fathers. And he said, my husband is going to walk. He's going to talk. He's going to eat. He's not going to have his feeding tube in him, and he's going to be up out of here. And he was like, okay, well, if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. And this is how I feel. So that night, I never forget, me, my godson, and my children, we prayed and we prayed and we prayed. And I'm not, I'm not a minister or deaconess or anything like that. I just trust God with every being in my body. And that night we prayed and we prayed and we prayed and we prayed. And I said, God, you got to give us a miracle, because they saying that my husband is not going to talk. He don't know us. I just don't know what's going on. I just don't know, So the next day I was at home, playing my worship music, and just, then I just had got so full that I had opened up the door in my laundry room. I opened up the door and I just screamed, God, you gotta help me. You just gotta help me. And I screamed so hard and screamed so loud that I know my neighbors, because I just had got so full. I just left the hospital. He didn't know me. I just left the hospital. He had these gloves on, hitting himself. And I never forget, he had these mittens on, and I just started crying, and I laid on his chest, and I said, Cottrell, you got to come back to us. You just got to come back to us, because I don't know nothing. I don't know where nothing at. I don't know where our paperwork at. I don't know where nothing at. You got to come back to us. And he had this mitten on, and he took his mitten and he hit me across my back, like to say, I love you, and I'm coming back. The next day, I got a phone call from the hospital, and they told me, you can come get your husband, and he's going to rehab. And I said, no. I just left my husband. He didn't even know me. So how is y'all saying my husband is ready to go to rehab? They said, we don't know. We don't know, but he's talking. He's asking for you, and you need to come get him so we could sign these papers to go to rehab, because if not, then you don't want him in here any longer in the hospital where he can get these infections at. I said, hold up, wait a minute. I don't want nobody to leave. I want the doctors who trying to get him to come to rehab. I want the nurses. I want everybody on that floor. I'll be there in 10 minutes. And I got in my car, and I probably hit every red light there was. And when I got there, I walked in the room, and he was sitting in the sit-up chair, and he said, Bo, I want some ham hocks. And I was like, some what? I said, some what? What you talking about? I was like, no, some neck bones. That's what he said, some neck bones. And I was like, neck bones? You what? I said, oh my God. I said, you know me? You know me? He was like, yes, you my wife. You Bo. And I was like, oh my God. I said, God gave me a miracle. He gave me a miracle. And I said, oh my God, a miracle. It was a miracle. And my husband went to rehab. The next day, I never forget when that same day they had him on because he wasn't walking. They put him in the Hoyer lift and put him on the stretcher, and there we go to the rehab center. And when we get to the rehab center, I said, I don't even know how we here, but we here. We are here. My husband wasn't even talking a week ago, and we here. I can't believe this. We are here. And he just got better and better and better from the rehab. Um, he had short-term memory. And I never forget when I got to that rehab, I told him, I said, oh, we're not going to be here long. I said, I'm telling you now, we're not going to be here long. And she said, we're. I said, yes, we're, because I ain't going nowhere. I ain't going nowhere. I said, so we are not going to be here long. And my husband going to walk up out of here. Now, he was on a stretcher. He was on one of them stretchers. So they had to teach him how to walk. He had to go to rehab how to walk. They had a bell on his bed. So if he get up, they could hear it because they said he was high risk. He didn't know how to walk. So he didn't know how to, they had to do another feeding test on him. Because the last time when he had got choked, got aspirated, that they had to do another feeding test on him. So they just was giving him liquids until they gave him another feeding test. So they gave him a feeding test, and he was able to, start eating soft foods. And they gave him rehab language. And I'm a in-home preschool teacher, so right when they said he was ready to start his language rehab, I brought all my ABCs, I brought everything, all my kids stuff, and I started it, teaching him, like I said, look at my lips, and teaching him how to pronounce little words, and praying. And he is a living miracle. And doctors just say that all the time. This man is a living miracle. He's walking. Now he's walking with this walker now because he have a cyst now in his T-spine. So we got to figure out where that's coming from. But he was walking and just everything. We was exercising together on his bike. So he's just a living miracle. But it changed me. It was a blessing and a challenge. It was a blessing because God gave us this miracle. He let my children see a miracle. He let his family see a miracle because my daughter had taped it and put it on Facebook so his brother could see how he was doing, because they wasn't able to get back up here. They just had left because they said he wasn't doing good. So they came to see him, and then they had left. So she had taped his progress. So when she taped his progress, she asked me if she could put it on Facebook to show his brother. She put it on Facebook when we was praying for him, and when he wasn't even speaking, and he wasn't even talking. The next day, when people seen him going to a rehab, they was like, is this the same man? You gotta be kidding me. So it hit over, it went viral. It went viral because I started having people call me up and asking if I could pray for them. And I said, look, I ain't no minister. I said, but I tell you this, you have to trust God for yourself. You have to believe. You have to know. You have got to keep speaking life no matter what it looks like. Even when the doctors told me he wasn't never going to walk again and he wasn't going to talk, even when they said he was going to be on a feeding tube, I didn't even let that stuff get in my mind. I didn't let everybody visit my husband. If you was negative, if because they can feel and they can hear whatever you're saying. That's why I wanted Bach music playing. That's why I didn't want anyone coming in his room crying and saying, oh my gosh, I didn't want that. I had to have positive energy. I told my daughters, I said, listen, when y'all come in the room with your father, if it's not positive, I'm going to give you a pass. And with this pass means you can go home and don't return until you get yourself together. And once you get yourself together, you can come back. And on that note, everything was positive, 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 positive. Keep speaking life in him. Keep telling him you can do it. Keep telling him, you know what? You are here for a reason. You are here for a reason, because this man should not be here. Not with a stroke, not with a heart attack. And then they had to go in again for a cranial bleed because he was doing good. And I do believe he was doing so good that he stopped taking his medicine and he went in, he hit his head and went, he fell, hit his head and went into a seizure. So the doctor said, oh my God. So he said, y'all back again? I was like, yeah, he fell and hit his head. So he said, well, you know what? It's not good news, Miss Whitlock, because he hit his head and he started a brain bleed. So we got to go back in here. So they had to go back in and, fix the brain bleed. And thank God that they did not have to put any shunt. They thought they was going to have to put a shunt in there because the bleeding was keep coming. They thought they was going to have to put a shunt in there, but we prayed, no shunt. And he was fine. He was fine. But after the brain bleed, I do noticed it slowed him down a tad bit. It slowed him down a tad bit. And he's not the person he used to be because it keeps going back to me when they said the blood got into different capillaries of the brain and started shutting stuff down. So some things he's not the same as, he was that big go-getter. Now he's just more like, I have to remind him, okay, hit the shower. I have to remind him, do little things like that. I have to remind him, okay, I didn't want to take away him not taking his medication. I didn't want to take that away from him, but I have to make sure he takes it. So I said, open your mouth, I got to see that you take that medicine, So just little things like that. But again, Lisa, I am so grateful. I am so grateful because I know without a shadow of a doubt that this have nothing been but God and a miracle. And so many people was calling me from that. And I was like, look, only thing I could tell you is to don't give up, no matter what it looks like. He might not be walking today, but that's not going to say he's not going to be walking in another couple of months. You just got to keep trusting. You got to keep believing, and you got to have faith. You got to have faith. And since then, this thing, I done wrote two children books because I had to keep things going. I had to keep things going. Health and wellness. I talked to daycare providers about taking care of their health and wellness because when my husband got sick, I stopped caring about me because it was all about him. It was all about him. So I stopped caring about me. So I had let myself go. And I never forget my minister, he called me to his office. He said, Bonita, you know what? You got to start caring more about yourself. He said, because this is not you. This is not you. You're not dressing like you used to. You're not looking the way you used to. And he said, you know what? If you don't take care of yourself, you will not be here to take care of your husband. So I had to fall back in love with Bonita to be able to give my husband what he needed. But I'm telling you, it's not easy. And many a days I still cry. Many a days I still, have my moments. I miss my husband, the husband that I used to have. But I thank God that he's still here. I can still look in his eyes and I can still, reminisce. But it's a change. And I'm learning this new person. And this new person is learning me, and we're making it. We're one day at a time. We are getting through this stroke stuff. We're getting through it. The stroke will not have us. We will have the stroke. We will take hold of the stroke. This stroke is not his stroke. He was telling somebody the other day, my stroke. I said, no. It's not your stroke. Is this stroke. We are not even taking hold of that. We don't want that, So it's this stroke. And you know what? I said, guess what? You're getting through it one day at a time. One day at a time, Lisa.
It is. It is one day at a time. And, so many things your story and our story, it lines up
So I was telling
much.
my assistant that I was like, me and her story is like unreal. But I prayed for this. I prayed, I said, God, please send me to a forum where I can know I'm not the only one going through this. Send me to a forum where I can see that there are people who are going through what I'm going through, and they are fighting, and they're fighters, and they're going to make it no matter what it looks like.
And
God got us.
I tell you what, I've interviewed, a few people before you, and I have so many interviews lined up. The people that I've interviewed, honestly, every one of them, I've heard the word warrior.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
who we're dealing with when it comes to people with strokes. You are a warrior.
Yes.
Okay. If you've had a stroke, if you're a caregiver, if you're a spouse, if you are anybody that is connected to that individual that has had that stroke, we are nothing less. The one interview I did with a lady named Erica, she said, I was born with a sword and a shield in my hand.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
That's so true.
Yes, it
And
is.
so this journey that we're on together, it is nothing but what I believe is divine, is God bringing his people together across
Yes.
race, across
Yes.
disability, across class status, across every line is crossing. And that is what he's about.
Yes, it is.
It is
Yes,
not
it is.
separation. It is not segregation. No, we are coming
No,
together
together.
and
Together.
unifying the way it's
Yes.
supposed to be. And it
Yes.
took a traumatic thing. This is what I tell my husband all the time. God just used you to bring people together. You
Together.
better know that you're a minister in that
Yes.
thing that you're doing. And then even for me, he became my ministry.
Yep.
He became
Yes.
my ministry and still is.
Yes.
I mean, and so I just
Chills. I'm just getting chills. I'm just like,
when I
oh,
met you, oh my
yes.
goodness, I've been so pumped for this specific interview for
I
like
know.
days.
Me too. I said, I got up here really early. I was like, oh my God. And it was everything worked. When God is in the midst, things just work so smoothly. Everything just worked out so smooth. And I just, for me to pray this prayer and the next week, I'm just like, what? Because I put it out there. We just celebrated our 33rd year anniversary. And I put that on the page, and people were like, oh my God. But this has been nothing but God. I had to do a lot of growing up, because I was a little spoiled somebody. I really was. And my husband, he did it to me. And I told him, I never forget going in his room, and he didn't even know me, and he didn't even know I was in the room. And I said, Cottrell, I just wished you didn't just, spoil me so much. I wish, I would have had more responsibility. He didn't want that on me. He just wanted me to enjoy life. He just wanted me just the best. He wanted the best for me. So when he couldn't speak for himself, I will always say, I have to give the best for him, because he would do it for me 100 million times. 100 million times. And this is not easy, because sometimes he don't want to do some of the things that, I have to, make sure you're drinking your water, make sure you're doing this, make sure you're doing that, so sometimes he'd be like, ugh. But you know what? I said, guess what? Every time he go to the doctor said, you got a wonderful wife, because where you are at now, it's a miracle. It's just a miracle. So God has put us wives who's been through stroke, our husbands who have strokes, or a significant other who has stroke. He had put us in their lives for a time like this, because the doctor told me this. He said, you know what? You are a wonderful wife. He said, because you just don't know how many women come up here with their divorce papers in their hand and say, oh, I didn't play into this. I didn't buy into this. I'm out of here. And I said, what? Are you serious? I said, that's crazy. I said, for better, for worse, sickness and in health, for richer and for poorer. We are in this thing together. Why? Because we are Whitlocks. And that's what we do. We take care of each other. And I know you will do it for me. And I'm definitely going to do it for you. If we all had to, if I tell people this, if I had to shut all my businesses down and go live with my mother, if we didn't have a penny, that would be okay. That would be okay. But God, you know what? He just opened doors and opened doors and opened doors. And, you know, I became this person that I didn't even know I was, you know. So I just, everything I did, it worked out. It just worked out. And God just, you know, he just opened doors, opened doors. You know, so Lisa is going to get better. So I'm out here telling every person, if they had a stroke, if they dealing with a stroke, if they know someone who have a stroke, guess what? We are in this together, and we are winners, we are warriors, and we are going to win. We're going to win.
You know, one scripture, and you know, some people that'll be watching this, your audience that's going to see this, you know, they may not be believers. They may not
Right.
believe in God. They may
Yes.
have a whole nother platform of belief system, you know.
Right.
And so I think that, you know, like for me though, I mean, I am a believer. I believe in the
Yes.
word. And, you know, this one of the scriptures that's in the Bible, it talks about how, you know, when the enemy comes at you, how God will turn it all for your good. And that's the good, the bad, the ugly. It's like, you know, it's like baking a cake, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
you put in all the ingredients for the cake, and then something beautiful and sweet comes out for
Right.
people to partake,
Right. I
right?
like that.
And so that's the way that our lives are. You know, we have, you know, because if you put eggs in, well, eggs by themselves isn't all that great. People
Right.
do drink them for health properties and things like that. But it's not all that great. You might put some baking soda in there. That's nasty by itself,
Right.
you
By
know?
yourself.
Yeah, but you put some sugar in there. That sugar is good. That
For
sugar
sure, it's
tastes
okay.
good, you
Right.
know?
Right.
So
But
you have
people
all
put it
these
all together.
properties. Yes, you put
Yes.
all that in the bowl, right? And you mix it up. You mix it up, and then you put it in the oven because the heat
Yes.
from life, the
Yes.
heat from life is what makes us rise. And so when you put it together, all things work together for the good of
For the
those who
good.
believe and
Yes.
trust in
Trust,
God.
girl. Call it to
So
yes.
I'm telling you, it is real. Miracles are real. Signs are real. Wonders are
Yes.
real. And we're seeing them in this hour. If,
Yes.
you know, your story, you know, getting out to the audiences that will hear this, I know will be an encouragement for them. You just never know who you will bring into our journey, you know, into
Yes.
your journey, how many paths you'll cross. Like, it's an amazing thing, you know. And
It
again,
is.
not everybody's going to have this same perspective. You know,
That's
that's
so true.
why the Facebook page, the forum, all of that is stroke life perspective.
Right. Perspective. I
Because
like that.
yes, we all have different
Perspective.
perspectives.
Yes.
My perspective may not be the same as somebody else, you know, or
Exactly.
vice versa.
That's so
But we're
true.
all still on this same journey,
Journey.
you know?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so I'm
Yes.
telling you. So, Miss Bonita, what does a day look like for you with your husband? Can you share that with your audience?
Ooh. Yes. A day look like I get up at 5:30 in the morning. I do my exercise. I do my meditation. I do my TikToks and YouTubes. I do that. And then I go in there and, he's resting and I don't rush him, to get up pretty much. I go downstairs and make his breakfast and I come back up and, say, okay, it's time for you to take a shower. So, he takes his shower and everything. And I got a movie schedule. So after the shower, he have to do some kind of movement, working out or something like that. So he do that, and then we just sit down and chat before the daycare children, get there. I ask him how he doing, how he feel. Um, and we just have a conversation, a little prayer time. And I said, you know what, you are just a miracle. I like to always tell him that. I was like, you are just a miracle, and it don't matter. I said it just don't matter how you might feel that you got kicked back a little bit. I said, but look at you now, you ahead of the race. I said, you ahead of the race, so then I goes back down and he reads his paper. And then, I'm checking on him periodically through the day. But I've just been so blessed that, I'm able to do all my businesses from my home and able to, always keep an eye on him and make sure he's doing good. And it's a blessing. Still able to cook dinner, because he used to do all the cooking, but now he's enjoying. I think my daughter said, "Ma, you just spoiled that." He said, because now he just like, I ain't doing it, So I'm like, okay, but I'm just so grateful that he's here. And maybe he is spoiled, but he spoiled me, so maybe it's time for him to get a little bit spoiled, but that's just our life journey. And the grandchildren, he's able to read to the grandchildren. He'll come down to daycare sometimes and read to the kids. He was doing more into his back till he got the cyst in his back, so now that's really causing him, to move a little slower. We're going to figure out what they're going to do with that. But, it's just a joy, just, every morning, just seeing him and just, being able to talk to him and, watch him reading his papers. And, it's just, I'm just like, wow, it's just a miracle. He's just a miracle. I call him my miracle man.
Yes. So, and he is very much so. So what team of doctors still follow him? Does he see a neurologist, cardiologist? Who follows
Yes, he
him?
he's still seeing neurologists. He will be going to his cardiologist appointment. That's in another week or two. So he still see the cardiologist. He still see his doctor. But that's just about it. They cut him down to, he was seeing a nutritionist, but now, I've been, taking care of his food, and he's been doing amazing. His blood pressure been pretty much perfect, so he's just down to like those three doctors now.
So does he have high blood sugars at all, or did he ever?
No, no, he never had high blood sugars. He just had high blood pressure, and I believe that he was not taking his medication the right way. That's how I believe he had, his pressure spiked up and he had a stroke. I do believe he just wasn't taking it the right way. And I wouldn't know. I mean, I'm not gonna, at that time being on you, did you take your medicine? Did you take your medicine? I didn't know, but I just said I wish that I would have known, maybe I could have, guided him to making sure he's, taking his medicine a little bit more. So now I'll be like, look, open your mouth. I want to
So,
make sure.
so Mr. Whitlock, he had high blood pressure prior to the stroke. Do you
Yes.
think that that was probably the kicker for the stroke, the high blood pressure?
Yes, I do believe so. Yes, yes. Because I believe he just wasn't taking his medication the right way because he was feeling so good that he just wasn't, you know. And you can't tell people, if doctors put you on the medication, you cannot get off the medication until they tell you, and then they will start winging you off. It don't matter how good you feel, because we also have a health and wellness healthy coffee business, and it got an herb in it called Ganoderma lucidum, and the Ganoderma is a reishi mushroom from China, and it helps with all different, I don't do any health, claims, but a lot of people who drink the coffee make them feel better. So he was feeling so much better with this. But I believe he just stopped taking his medication the way he was because of the way he was feeling, so much better.
Yeah,
So
I know, even my husband he was prescribed high blood pressure medication. He was also prescribed metformin for high blood sugars. And wouldn't take the medicine because
Right.
he was actually treating himself with vitamins and herbs and, things
Yeah.
like that, which
Yeah.
all that's good. But
Good.
if,
You
but I
still.
also believe, again, going back to the word Luke in the Bible
Right.
was a physician.
Right.
So we believe in physicians and we believe
Right.
in their order, and their
Exactly.
direction of
Right.
medication. And
Right.
so, I tell you, when after he had his stroke, this is one thing I didn't share in my testimonial video, but I had come home and I had cleaned out the medicine cabinet because he came home with a whole slew of medications. And
Uh-huh.
so I'm like, okay, we got to clean out the cabinet because
Right.
we don't have room.
Right.
So I went in there and I started to clean out his cabinet of medications. And I kid you not, there were at least 4 medications that he came home from the hospital with that were sitting in his medicine cabinet.
Wow. See?
My heart hurt
Yeah.
because I thought, why didn't you take care of yourself,
Yeah. Yeah.
But he was very much, like I said, into doing things with vitamins
Healthy.
and help
Yes.
and again, I'm not against that. If it's working for you,
Right.
hey, go ahead and do
That's
that,
what I say. Exactly.
but sometimes you just need a little more than that.
Right.
And
Exactly.
so you can supplement, the medications that the doctor
Okay.
may, yeah, balance it out.
Right. Balancing out. And
Yeah.
that's what I told him. We gotta balance this out, hon. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
but and then you start blaming yourself. Should I have been more on top of it? And then, like my neighbor said, well, Bonita, how would you know? How would you know he wasn't taking this medicine? How would you know? So it's a lot because now, even being the caretaker, you have so much on you. you know so you have to make sure that everything is he's okay, the household is okay, your businesses is okay, you okay. Everybody have to be okay. you know but it's
And
just
so talk a little bit about the caregiver perspective. You and I both are caregivers. We're both wives. Um, what do you think? I mean, you've got a lot on your plate now, a lot more now than you did before, and
ever.
your king spoiled you. Which
Yes,
I
yes.
think that's, for a king to spoil his queen, he loves you, and
Yes.
again, he just wanted you to enjoy life.
Right.
And that's amazing to me that he did that. And
It
so
did.
now, though, you have a lot more on your plate, things that were probably totally foreign to you, like, oh my gosh,
Right.
what is this? How
Right.
are you coping? How are you getting through those things?
Prayer. And I was just talking about that. They said, you want to take Journey, baby? I was just talking that to my sister. I have a wonderful assistant, and she helps me out on a lot of stuff, and she's just a godsend. But I was just talking to her yesterday, and she was saying, well, Bo, a lot of this came from you just was not used to this. Now you got everything. You was not used to it. You didn't have to do any of this stuff. So now you have to become this person who is somebody who, didn't know any of this stuff or didn't have to do any of this stuff. So now I'm making sure he's okay, his doctor's appointments. And it got to a point so bad that when they were asked for his social security number, I asked for my social security number. If I was, doing something, I would give them his social security number. And I said, I'm so sorry. I said, I'm so used to just taking care of him now, that I'm put on a back burner. So I had to learn how to, even through all this, I had to learn how to, find me. Because if you lose yourself in the midst of this, if I lose myself, who's going to be there to take care of him? Who's going to be there? So I had to find who Bonita was again. I had to find out who I was because I had lost myself somewhere along the way of taking care of him. I lost myself, and I had to find myself again. And that's the only way, through prayer, um, I had to do a lot of praying. I had to find out what makes Bonita feel good. What makes Bonita feel good? And I love dancing, so that's where I get my
You know
mainly.
what? I was looking at some of your TikToks and I'm like, if I did that, I would look like I don't even know, girl. I'd probably dislocate something because I can't move like that. I said she's gonna have to teach me some of those dance moves because, girl, I would have done dislocated something. Okay.
Lisa, I used to old school dance when that's what I love to do. I just love to dance, and that's where I get my my happiness out of dancing. And I would be before my girlfriend, she owns a radio station, and the radio station here, they would do they be doing different events, and me and her would just go and just be able to go to the event, and we would just dance on the dance floor like for hours, so 4 or 5 hours, and people say, how could you do this? And I would be like, close that door. And I will be like, that's where I get my enjoyment out of just dancing, just enjoying life, just feeling good. And that's where I had to find myself back again. Found TikTok, and my grandkids, TikTok is for young folk. But guess what? During this pandemic, a lot of people didn't have nothing to do. So I couldn't go with my girlfriend. We couldn't go out dancing. So, I would just get on TikTok and dance and have fun and just be free and be me. But I had to find something that made me feel good. I love modeling. I got back into everything that I love, and was helping me be a better person. It's helping him. It's just helping the whole family and around, because if I'm happy, everybody happy. So you got to find your happiness. And that's what I talk about, finding your happiness, because Lisa, this is not easy. We got thrown into this. I didn't know this was going to happen. You didn't know this was going to happen. I would have thought I would have got sick way before him, and he would have been taking care of me. I did not dream of this. I did not dream that this could happen. I just did not.
And
But
I don't know about you, but like when it happened to us, and I think you as well, because you kind of mentioned it earlier in your interview, it's like, what do you mean a stroke? Like, what is
right,
that?
yeah,
You hear about it happening to so many other people, but it never
right,
knocks at your door. And
right,
when it does, it's like, who are you and where did you come
exactly,
from? And
right,
what? A stroke?
right,
I don't know anything. And I own a special needs business. So we deal with a lot of genres of people from A to Z, but I've
right.
never had anybody, honestly, in our services that has had a stroke. Now, if they
Wow,
have, I would have to dig in their chart. They
right,
maybe, but their
right,
primary diagnosis would be something like autism or cerebral palsy or something like that. Now, they might have
exactly.
a stroke in cahoots with that, but it's not their primary diagnosis. So I might not know. But it just, when it hit us, it literally will throw you back. I
Yes,
mean,
it will.
and it's like, okay, now it's like, okay, I got to research, I got to find out this, I got to, what
Yep,
medications he's on, oh my gosh, what are the side effects? And then you
yep. It's work.
start looking at side effects, and it's like, okay, I don't even want to look anymore,
Yeah,
because
it's work. It's work. But I thank God I got daughters who helps me out. I got one daughter. This is her third degree now. She's a nurse now. She went back to nursing school so she can help out with her dad. And so I just been so grateful, that God have put me with a whole army full of people who, have been there for me. The neighbors, his best friend across the street, he still come cut his hair, give him a nice haircut and shave him up real good. And, so, God has really, he's really been there for us. But I never forget, because I'm tell you, some days you have your moments. And I had one of my moments, and my sister has said, Bonita, you remember that prayer you had prayed for God, that you know you would take him back any kind of way. She said, just remember your prayer. Just remember your prayer. Because it was one of those days, I was like, because you're going to have your ups and you're going to have your downs. And I tell people, I'm not going to kid you not. You're going to have your ups and you're going to have your downs. And this was one of my 15 minutes of fun, because I always say you only can get 15 minutes. And I was having my 15 minutes and I was like, it's just so much. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And it's just a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, and I think too, I'm sorry to cut you off, but one of the things that I think becomes such a huge misconception of people who believe or who are Christians or ride that vein,
Right.
the biggest misconception and the biggest lie out there is, oh, when you get saved and when things go bad,
Yeah.
you whatever, things are going to be all peaches and cream. Are you
Right.
kidding me?
Yeah.
No, it's the
Exactly.
opposite.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
we get targeted
Right. You
more
100%.
than anything. So that's the biggest lie from the pit
Life
of
ever
hell
told.
that, yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
you 100%, Lisa, because I never forget my bishop. He had told me, he said, Bonita, one thing about you, he said, one thing I love about you is, a lot of people don't have your faith. He said, one thing you got faith. He said, because when he said, he even seen the video because it went viral. He said, I know how you prayed for your husband and you knew, you spoke life, you spoke that thing into effect. He said, do you know how many people who go to our church who, when life hit them, they back up? They back up. He said, but see, you stood that thing straight out and you said, this is how it's going to be. And you believed it. And he said, you know what? I am just so proud of you to be your bishop, to see how you have grown up in the word. And I said, well, Bishop, you know what? I'm just grateful that I'm in a church that I was forced to grow up, because what, your word is so good. But Lisa, I mean, it's a lot, but like I said, I'm so grateful. I'm just so grateful that I can look at my husband every single day, and he's seen our first granddaughter. Well, we got four, so he got to see two of them, as infants. The other one's grown up now, they like 14 and 10, so he been seeing them. But these two ones we just got, he got to hold them in their arms and hold them in their arms. And I was just like, wow, this is just a blessing and a miracle that he's able to be here for these two, read them stories. And I just was like, wow, so
amazing.
it's amazing.
It is amazing. Our oldest daughter got married while my husband, unfortunately, was in the hospital. And that was something that she had looked forward to,
Yeah.
her dad
Yeah.
walking down the aisle, and that didn't happen. But and I'll post some pictures on our page, our group page,
Yes.
probably a little later, but we actually took his suit up to the hospital. She went up with her dress on, and her husband at the time now, in his suit. They were looking clean and fresh, and we got him in his, and we took pictures, because that's a day that, a lot of, girls look forward to,
Yes.
him down the aisle. So, I'm with you. I'm thankful. I'm grateful. It's an honor to meet you.
You too.
We are going to go ahead and kind of phase out of the interview now, but please, do you have any closing comments? What would you say to somebody as a caregiver first? What would you say to that caregiver to encourage them to, what if they might have started their journey 20 years ago, they might have started their journey yesterday or even an hour ago.
Right.
What would you say to encourage them?
I just would like to tell them to stay encouraged, keep the faith, take care of yourself, because you can't take care of yourself. You can't take care of anybody else if you're not taking care of yourself. And live life, love, laugh, and live life. Because you know what? It's a miracle that we are all here taking care of ourselves or our loved one who have had a stroke.
Right. So tell us, how can we find you on TikTok? How can we find the viral video? Because I haven't seen
You
it.
know what? It's on my page. If you keep going on my are you my friend on my regular Facebook page?
I don't know.
Okay, if you connect with me on my regular Facebook page,
I don't
and
think I am on your
okay,
regular
okay,
one.
yeah. If you my regular Facebook page, connect with me, or I'll see if my assistant can send the. I just seen it because you know when it comes up so much. But on my Facebook is under Bonita Whitlock. On my Instagram is I got an Instagram too. It's Living Life Whitlock, and on my TikTok is Bonita Whitlock. Yeah, so
Do you
I
have
just
any other? What about Amazon now? What's that about?
I'm an Amazon influencer too. So anybody buy anything from Amazon or whatever, my link is in all these bios I had said too, So if you like some of the outfits I wear a lot of Amazon stuff. You can just look on the link and just
So you're
shop with them.
modeling for them, right? Is that what
Yes,
you're
yes, I
doing?
do a lot of yes. I'm an influencer with them. I'm an influencer with a couple of different couple of companies, but Amazon is what I've just started doing, and I love it. So I got probably like 6 or 5 different influencer little jobs what I get, but I love it because I'm living my best life. I used to model when I was younger, and now I'm able to do this stuff now, still able to take care of my husband. It's all good. God is good. I'm
He
telling you.
works it together. He
Yes,
works
he
it together
do.
for our
And
good.
look at us. Look how he worked this out.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
so I'm so happy. Thank you, Lisa, for having me.
Thank
And
you,
may
Bonita.
God continue to bless you and your wonderful family, your husband. You tell him that hang on in there, and you are a wonderful wife.
You are a wonderful wife too, and it was an honor, a privilege to interview you today. We are in this strong
Yes,
together.
we are together.
Together.
Thank you, baby.
You're welcome.